Have you ever wondered why we attract the people we do in our lives? And I don't mean just in a romantic sense. I mean, like, even as friends, close friends. We seem to attract the same kind of people over and over again to us. That's not an accident. That's not just coincidence. You know, there are no coincidences. So the reason we attract the same kind of people to us is what I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to explain that in a little more detail. So if you're new to the channel, welcome to Elder Gal. I'm Allison. I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I realized the pattern in my own life with relationships, with friends, that I tend to attract a similar type of person. Now, not in all ways, but in enough ways that it makes me realize it's me. It's me. It's the energy I'm giving off. It's what I'm putting out there in the world that tends to attract what's coming towards me. So as I talk about this today, see if you can identify with it. See if you can see your own pattern in this. It really takes a lot of self-awareness to realize what you may be doing to create that situation where you're attracting a certain kind of person. Now, the most obvious example of this are people that attract abusers. So either women or men that attract people that abuse them. What causes that to happen? Because a person who does not attract an abuser could walk into any place, a bar, a concert, a workplace, whatever, and the abusers will just not key into them. They will not be attracted to them. Why is that? Because those people are not giving off some sort of unconscious signal that they're open to that kind of abuse or control. That's the bottom line. Those people are not giving off a signal that they're okay with abuse. Now, I have never had a real serious relationship with an abuser. I have had maybe a couple of friends in my life that could have been abusive, but they quickly realized I wasn't going to put up with that. And so it wasn't a real long friendship. My mom, one thing that was really good about her is that she really raised me to not put up with abuse from other people. And which is kind of ironic because she was a little bit of emotionally abusive, a little bit. She was emotionally abusive with me, but she would not tolerate abuse in her life. And she, just told me over and over again as I was growing up, don't you put up with an abusive man. In particular, she was worried about getting into a relationship with a man. But so I never attracted that kind of man. I had a very strong, warning thing in my head, apparently, that just it did not allow me to give off that signal that would have attracted an abuser. So I never had to deal with that or put up with that. But I've known plenty of people in my life who have, and including my own sister, who really did attract an abuser, and she married him. And she gave off that signal somehow. I guess my mom didn't talk to her extensively about it or something, or else she ignored it. I don't know, one or the other. But the thing is, what people give off that attract abusers, I liken it to blood in the water to a shark. You know how a shark can smell blood or sense blood from miles away? It's kind of, you're giving off that same thing when you're attracting an abusive person. They sense something. They probably can't even put words to it, but they sense it. You're giving off some sort of signal. But that's an extreme example where I'm talking about abusive people. But what about all kinds of other issues? What if you're the kind of person that's a pushover? In other words, you're a yes person. In other words, you'll try to help out anybody in any situation. You're constantly wanting to, some people call it a people pleaser, or people that just want to be loved. And so they put out this signal that, they'll help anybody in need, whatever that is. Now, we think that's really great. And in some respects, it is great to be a honestly generous person with your time and energy is is really a wonderful quality, but not if it's done to excess. In other words, not if it's done at your own expense. And so what the caution is that if you're the kind of person that's, kind of, again, unconsciously sending this signal out that you'll do anything for anybody at any time, and you don't apparently have a lot of boundaries around it, then you're going to be taken advantage of. You're going to be, run ragged trying to help other people. It's this, the theory in life is it's great to be a person who helps other people, but you still have to take care of yourself first. You have to take care of yourself first. And then with the energy you have left, that is great to help other people, but you still have to have boundaries around it. I did a video on this where I talked about that I knew this woman at one time when I worked at a hospice, and she had a really great boundary system about this. She was a very kind person who was very thoughtful and liked to help other people. But she always made sure that she took care of herself first. And, in retrospect, I realized that was a really healthy way to do it. And so I really encourage those of you out there that maybe struggle with being, too readily able and willing to help anyone, and no matter what the situation, you might want to do a self-check and make sure you're taking care of yourself first. Now, there are lots of other kinds of issues that do the same thing. We attract, again, what we put out there. We attract what we put out there. Now, I've had a hard time figuring out what my problem was, but I obviously have one. Oh, wait a minute. I have way more than one. And, but I've always, I kind of gave a hint to this in the video that I did on talking about how I really sucked at relationships. And that especially in romantic relationships, I was always looking for the person, the guy who would be totally loyal to me. See, I didn't want to put up with not only abuse, but I also didn't want to put up with somebody who might cheat on me, because that wasn't going to deal with that. It apparently put signals out there that I was looking for loyalty and above all else. And that has attracted certain kinds of people to me. Not necessarily what would have made the greatest of relationships, but I did get what I was wanting in one respect. It's just that doesn't make for a healthy relationship. And of course, I realize that now. I'm also a little bit strange. If you haven't figured that out already on this channel, I'm a little odd. I'm not the average person. I'm very much an introvert. I'm very much a loner. I don't like being around people at various times at all. And so when I have a significant relationship, either in a romantic sense or in a best friend sense, I'm still like putting out that signal that I want somebody that we can just do things together and have this, connection and have each other's back. But I don't want to be in a relationship with somebody that is an extrovert and wants to just hang out with other people all the time. That would be horrible for me to be in a relationship like that. So I tend to not have gotten into relationships with people that were extroverts, right? Because that's not going to work for me. And I'm also, like I said, a little odd, a little different. Kind of, I'm more of a free spirit, kind of artistic. And so I like people that are different. The problem is sometimes I've attracted people that are too different, even for me. And so that's been a problem at times. So we all have issues with this, okay? We do. We all have issues with this in some respect. The reason I'm talking about this today is I think it's an important thing for us to become aware of so we understand what we're putting out there. So then when we ask the question, why do I keep attracting a certain kind of person? We know the answer to that. I mean, I know the answer to that already now in my life. I probably didn't know the answer to that 25 years ago, but I definitely know the answer now. And so I think it's good for us to know that because we can make adjustments to that. We can make conscious adjustments to not keep attracting the same kind of person. Let me add to this that I think it's also important to become as psychologically healthy as you can. Now, obviously, none of us are probably ever going to get rid of all of our issues or be like 100% psychologically healthy. We're all going to have some issues until the day we die, probably. It's what's important though is to work on yourself, especially the things you know that are a problem. Like going back to that first example I gave of somebody who's attracting an abuser. That's really not a very healthy situation. If you're basically going, being in relationships or friendships with a series of abusers. So you might want to work on that and figure out what's that about you that's putting that signal out there, the blood in the water to the shark, so that you're attracting this to you. Because trust me, it's not real healthy for you. When I worked as a therapist, one thing I really noticed is that women in particular that were in abusive relationships had a really hard time freeing themselves from that. Even when they were upset about it and disgusted and fearful and all these things, they still had a hard time quitting that dynamic, quitting that interaction. And so I really encourage people to, if it's an example as severe as that, or maybe something like I deal with, whatever it is that you're putting out there, if it's not serving you, if it's not healthy, figure out what adjustments you can make inside yourself, whether it involves therapy or self-talk or whatever it's going to take to make those adjustments so you don't keep attracting what is not going to be healthy for you. So I hope that's helped you a little bit, maybe to think at least about what you're attracting in your life to you. And you might want to think on that. And I'm sure I'll talk about this in a slightly different way at some point down the road. So until next time, be well, be kind, keep moving forward, and take care of yourselves. Bye.